We are live. We have, oh, it doesn't tell so many now. Oh, 2. And we have Diana. Hello, Christine. And Diana's here. So the whole picture home is back. It's good to see you guys. It's been a while since we've been live.
It has.
The end of December.
Yeah.
Or beginning of December. Yeah.
I don't remember.
Because the end of December was Christmas.
It's a long time ago.
We didn't do anything. Happy Saturday. Hi, Charlotte. How are you? It's good to see you here.
Hopefully you hear us.
Yes. Can we be heard? Oh, is this thing plugged in?
Yeah.
Should I unplug it?
Unplug it. There. You should hear us a little bit better now. Hopefully.
Can people hear us? And like,
mic check. Mic check.
All right, unplug the headphones.
Looks and sounds great. Thank you.
Yay! Thank you, Diana. Yeah, hubby's headphones were plugged into the computer over there. I did not even check before. Good. I'm so glad, Charlotte. Awesome. So cool. How is everybody's Saturday? The last week has been eternal and yet come by in a flash. I'm like, it's Saturday?
Yeah.
That's so weird.
It's been entertaining.
Entertaining. That's a word for it.
So what do you want to talk about?
How you feeling? You had surgery 9 days ago?
Has it been 9 days?
It was last Thursday. Yes. Oh, you have sleet too, Charlotte? Oh, yeah. Chainsaw Mama. Thank you, Diana. We have had rain. We have had horrible, horrible torrential rain since last Monday. They say it's supposed to. All right, Christine, we'll see you soon. We have had horrible torrential rain since last Monday. It's supposed to be finished by this coming Monday, but oh my goodness, things are just a mud pit around here. Our ceiling is leaking. Do you all remember that we had our roof replaced completely in November?
The skylight that's leaking.
They were supposed to, like, that was part of the hurricane damage that was supposed to be fixed.
He responded to my email very quickly for it being a Saturday and said he will be here this week to fix it. So
yeah, it's still like our ceiling is leaking. Yes, rain, mud here in Ohio also, I am sure. Diana, a friend of mine who still lives in upstate New York in the Finger Lakes region, where we're from, yeah, they're getting snow and ice mixed in, but they have also just had yuck this past week. The whole Northeast, I think, is actually more than the Northeast. I know Rose at Wholesome Roots was talking about how they are just in thick mud right now, and they're down in Georgia. So, yuck, rain. So, let's see. Oh, we have 5 friends here now. Thank you, friends. I'm sure most of you who follow us know that Josh had surgery last Thursday. And the brief synopsis of all that is he was supposed to get what's called a bank heart repair, which is to fix the torn cartilage, right?
Yeah, it's the labrum, which is a piece of cartilage that sits on the glenoid bone.
Chess.
Which is where the ball goes into the socket. So it's a little cartilage cushion on the outside of the glenoid bone there. And it was torn. So what they do for that bank heart repair is they just, through arthroscopy, go in and suture together the cartilage, put in 3 bone anchors into the glenoid bone, and then suture the cartilage back into that, into those anchors.
Yep, that's what they do. And then when they got in there, hi.
That's cool.
Yeah.
How long have we had no sound?
Well, we do like to talk to ourselves.
It's very true.
Do you want to put this thing on and see if you can...
Oh, it's better. Cool.
Yay!
All right.
Hi, Jay! The Grateful Senites are here. Oh, I'm so glad. Good. I have watched several live streams this past week that just suddenly like shut down. I know YouTube is doing all sorts of revisions to things, so seems to be having a lot of technical glitches too. So the only thing that changed here was the dog walked behind us. So there's his fluffy bum right there over there by the tower, but I don't think he touched anything. Oh well, whatever.
But when I was in pre-op with the orthopedic surgeon, he was asking me how I was feeling.
Puberty.
And asked me if I had gotten back to any kind of like strength training or anything like that. And I said, no, because my arm's really weak. And he said, oh, that's weird. The labrum shouldn't have any impact on weakness. I said, oh, okay, whatever. I didn't think anything of it. But apparently that triggered him to do some exploration while he was working on my labrum. And because of that, he found the rotator cuff, particularly the supraspinatus muscle, which is kind of towards the back part of the shoulder, was torn. So he had to repair that as well. So it turned a 1 hour surgery into about a 2.5 hour surgery, of which I don't remember. Like, it seemed real quick to me.
He fell asleep, then he woke up seconds later. Oh, that's a bummer. 2 wild onions. I was just saying that I have an envelope of cotton seeds for you on my kitchen counter, but this whole past week they just haven't made it from the kitchen counter out to the mailbox. So I'm shooting for Monday, but cotton seeds are coming your way. So yeah, what's really fun is that nobody said anything to me. When he was in pre-op, his body just did not handle the first steps of anesthesia well.
The nerve block.
Yeah.
They knocked me out and then had to go in right in here into the bottom of my neck and numb me up. So I had a nerve block into I think it's like the brachial plexus nerve roots.
Yeah.
And from what I hear, because I also don't remember this, my blood pressure, which was already a little high beforehand, was about 130/85, which was high for me. Apparently, after they gave me that nerve block, it dropped to something like 90/45 or something like that. So,
well, that's what it was when they let me come back in the room.
That's true. So it could have been lower.
All I heard when they finally brought me back to pre-op to like sit with him until he was ready to go into the operating room was, so he had a little trouble when we first gave him the anesthesia, and his blood pressure dropped really, really low. But, we gave him some epinephrine and got him going again. And I'm like, you what? His heart was stopping? They're like, oh, he's good now. I'm like, great. This is why they don't let your wife into pre-op with you, in case you die or almost die. And then he just, when he was laying there in pre-op, he kept like nodding in and out. It was like, I'm just watching him. I'm like watching the blood pressure, because every time he would kind of fall asleep, his blood pressure on the monitors would go doot, 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 like really, really low. And then all of a sudden he'd like take a deep breath and turn and like pick up his head and look at me, and it would like pick right back up. I'm like, nobody around me is concerned. I guess I'm not concerned. And then they took him into surgery, and they're like, when they were ushering me out of pre-op, they're like, oh, this is going to take like an hour and 15, hour and 30 minutes. I'm like, great. Like, the doctor will be out to talk to you and then bring you back to recovery to sit with him when he wakes up. 3 hours later, nothing. I'm like, did he die? No one's telling me anything. Turns out it's just he found what the doctor called significantly torn rotator cuff, and it took extra time stitching up the backside of his the muscles and stuff like that back there that they didn't know they were going to have to. But nobody came out and said a word to me. And I was texting with one of his best friends, just keeping him up to date on things throughout it. And I said something about the whole thing. I was like, it's been more than 3 hours now and no one said anything to me. He's like, with some expletives, if I were there, I would be beating the door down. So you are showing restraint.
And yes, Jen, I tend to have some atypical reactions to all things medicine. Horrible. It doesn't really matter what the medicine is. I was hypothesizing the other day that because I only have one kidney, maybe because of that I have these atypical reactions. I mean, I don't know. I don't know if there's been a study done on people with one kidney, how they react to different types of things like anesthesia, but it's the only thing I can come up with.
Dog smile on. Oh my goodness. All right, I want to make sure I'm not missing the call. Hi. Cooper apparently really wants to say hi to you all. Jen, you actually do not need a greenhouse to grow cotton because you guys are even warmer. You guys are even warmer than we are down there. And we had no problem growing cotton this last year. So if you want some seeds, I'm happy to send you some just to toss in the ground somewhere and see how they do, because they were very hardy. I just dropped them in the wood chips and covered them up between our peach and one of our apple trees, and we got it. And hi, thank you. And they grew and did great. Yeah, I will send you some seeds. I know we have your address. I'll see if another one really. I'll see if Ella has a letter for Inara to send along with it.
She probably does.
She probably does. She writes her letters all the time. I don't know if they make it to the mailbox. All right, let's see. Yes, Josh does not handle med stuff well. It was terrifying. Like, why are they not telling me anything?
It's always fun when I'm getting put on a new medicine too, because I don't know if I'm going to have a reaction to it.
Yeah. He has not. His body has not handled the heavy medicine they wanted him on well either, if you can imagine, after all that. So here are massive doses of pain meds. He was having like these weird issues probably the first like 4 days after surgery. And we just thought it was the body kind of figuring out the post-op thing. And then things just started getting worse when they were supposed to get better. So we weren't finding anything like about his anesthesia or anything. So I started in detail researching the meds they had him on. And he ticked like almost every box for this one specific subset of reactions to the pain meds that are in the very rare contact your physician if you experience these things. It's like, really? That too?
I don't really tell them that I have strange reactions because I don't have them every time.
Yeah. Well, he doesn't take much. And like he has taken this particular pain med before, but it was in a significantly lower dose. And it was for like very short term. It wasn't like
I took
the max dose of this for 4 days straight around the clock.
Yeah. For instance, the one we're referring to is called Percocet. And I took it before over the course of like 2 days, and I had the typical side effects that you get from those types of narcotics. But I only was on it for 2 days, whereas this time it was about day 4 when I started seeing some really strange things. So I switched off to it. switched off of it and got on something else instead. And I've been trying to wean off, and I haven't had any type of opioid for 2 days.
Yeah, they put him on a much like smaller one. I think it was Thursday, and Thursday, because Percocet is what his body like freaked out on.
I didn't have like the typical reactions that you get from Percocet, like lightheadedness or dizziness, nausea, anything like that. I didn't get that. I had the typical issues
relating to renal issues.
Yeah, it was very bizarre.
That you can only find on like Mayo Clinic that lists the very specific, but
they switched me down to tramadol, which is also known as Ultram. And
picture home is here. Oh, I'm sorry about the drama. This surgery was a Bankart repair, as well as an additional repair for a torn rotator cuff. Right? That's separate, right?
Yeah. So initially it was for the torn labrum, and then while they were in there, they
found the torn
rotator cuff, which it wasn't a complete sever, which would be a grade 3 tear. It was a grade 2 tear. He said it was substantial. Oh,
thank you. Thank you very much.
The big issue I've been having lately is just sleep. I don't know if it's the combination of different things I've been on, along with pain, and I can't get comfortable because I'm sleeping in a recliner computer chair.
Yeah.
So I did have to, at my first post-op appointment yesterday, ask for some help with that, which I wasn't comfortable with, but I need to sleep in order to get better. And
if you can't take heavy meds, they were like, well, your body's freaking out to pain meds. Let's see if you can just sleep through it.
Yeah. Why don't you let her out, because she'll be really loud and annoying. The big issue that I came across was nausea once they switched me to the different opioid, the tramadol. I started getting really nauseous with that one.
Really bad.
So I didn't like being on that, even though it's considerably lower tier than like a Percocet. And it's interesting because of all of my back issues I've had in the past, I've been on Vicodin many times, and I've never had any kind of reactions to Vicodin. So it's interesting that I would get them from Percocet and Ultram. So I don't know.
Yeah, there's sleep going on outside now, and I just let the cat out. That's fun. So Charlotte, we're with ya.
Are you taking up?
I'm putting in our Facebook page just in case, because I know not everybody gets the notifications from. Yes, Charlotte's still here. We have Sleet now. Thank you for sending us Sleet. I know not everyone gets the notifications from YouTube, but every time we post a new video, or like tonight, this morning I announced we were going live tonight. I post everything on our Facebook page too. In case you're on Facebook more than YouTube, you can actually like hit the follow button on the Facebook page, and that will give you notifications when we post something. And we don't like go spam crazy. It just occasionally we post like pictures of the kids, but in general, it's just when we put up something new on YouTube, in case people aren't like hanging on to YouTube. Facebook can tell them. Yes, great weather here, but it's supposed to, Monday it's all supposed to clear out, and we're supposed to be like stay sunny and between 50 and 70 the entire next week, which is great because this is our springtime. Like right now in Virginia is when it's true spring moving in, and we have mud. Mm-hmm. I posted it on our Instagram stories right before I tucked the kids into bed. I made them do a funny boomerang for it, and I linked it there. But I didn't make a feed post on it because I'm lazy.
So in terms of recovery, when it was just the labrum, they said I would be in a sling for 4 weeks, and I'd be starting physical therapy probably 5 days post-op.
A little different now.
Yeah, it's a little different now because all the additional work they did at the post-op appointment yesterday. They did give me some things I can do.
Some physical therapy. It's got to work.
But it's 3 weeks of bend your elbow 10 times.
Yeah.
3 times a day.
Instructions on how, with his injured arm, do this 10 times.
So
3 times a day.
I'm not even going to be moving my shoulder.
He has to squeeze his shoulder blades, do a little thing to make his shoulder blades move back. He has to do 10 sets of those 3 times a day for 3 weeks. That's how much more serious the rotator cuff repair was than what we were expecting.
So I was going from about 4 weeks in a sling, and in that time frame still getting my shoulder manually maneuvered and stuff like that, to I basically will not be moving my shoulder at all for the next 4 weeks.
Yeah.
So I'm guessing I'm going to be in a sling for much longer.
Yeah.
I've seen 6 to 8 weeks for rotator cuff stuff.
They still say that ultimately, Chaos and Grace is here. Hi, Jennifer. They say ultimately, big picture, 6 months. In 6 months, he should, have his mobility back. He'll have to start kind of from ground zero with the, because he was lifting. I lift things up and put them down. He's not a meathead, guys, but he stays very strong for his spinal health, and he's kind of gonna have to start over there because while he may have his mobility back, the kids are in bed. I'm cruel like that. I can't imagine trying to do a live stream with them up. So bedtime is usually 8. I had them in bed at 7:55 while he was down here, sitting here, setting this up for us.
I've been pretty secluded back here in our master suite area.
Yeah.
And Megan's been good about kind of keeping the kids out. They'll just pop their heads in the door once in a while and say, "Hey, how are you?"
Yeah. They've always been sick. Really sick. Christine's back. Hello, Christine. It's so good to see you back. I'm glad your daughter went to bed nicely for you, or assuming she went to bed nicely for you. What have you been doing to pass the time? Watching a lot of Hulu.
Yeah, Hulu, because I just picked up Hulu last month, so I'm catching up on all the stuff from network TV that we haven't watched in 5-6 years.
Yeah.
I watched a new show called Manifest, which is fascinating. I got through the whole first season in 2 days. But now I'm kind of caught up on some other shows, Brooklyn Nine-Nine, which Megan hates. I think the big thing is going back to Netflix and watching some of the older shows that...
She's talking to Alexa. That's awesome.
Catching up on the older shows that I watched a long time ago.
Back when we still had actual TV.
Yeah. Shows that completed their final seasons were 8-9 years ago. Just rewatching them.
We like to watch The Office, start to finish, over and over again.
Well, we've been watching The Office essentially daily
since 2010.
To go to sleep since 2010.
Mm-hmm. Only 9 years.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, so our friend was amazing, and we have had so many sweet friends be so helpful. They have set up a meal train for us. People from our church have signed up to bring us dinner Monday, Wednesday, Friday
for 4 weeks.
Yeah, from the time Josh had his surgery. We had a couple of friends, my friend Grace brought the night before the surgery, she brought us dinner. So I just didn't have to think about that. And then our friend Kara had dinner on our porch waiting for us when we got home from the hospital. And so it was so nice. And then there were leftovers from both those meals. And I am kind of the leftover queen at lunchtime. So I just gave everything a makeover. And I basically, from those two friends bringing us dinner those 2 nights, fed the kids almost exclusively those things for 3 days.
Yeah, and we had some friends order pizza for us for Friday night.
Yeah. So we were really well taken care of those first 3 days, and now Monday, Wednesday, Friday, from that point until mid-March, we have friends bringing us dinner, which is, it's so nice because as much as my brain is like, I make dinner, I make meals for 11 billion people. This is what I do. This is like the easy part of my day is cooking food. But at the same time, yesterday was emotionally a crummy day. So when I didn't even really think about it until my friend Tara brought dinner, and I was like, I do not have to think about dinner. I can feed them off of paper plates.
Mm-hmm.
Like there's no cleanup. I don't like this is wonderful. This is really nice. So it's been really great. Yeah, we are so blessed that we have a few key people that have been really a blessing. And our friend who took them all day, like unexpectedly all day on Thursday when he had the surgery. She is just amazing. She's the one who set up the meal train. And unfortunately, they got sick like 24 hours later. They started getting sick. So like they were perfectly healthy when they had our kids. And then they started getting sick. And I'm like, okay, like cross your fingers. It's, something to pick up since they had our kids. And then Sunday, our kids started getting sick. So the kids have been sick. Just it's like, it reminds me a lot of the last time we had the flu a couple of years ago, but thank God our kids just for the most part seem to handle it well. It's like flu light. It's all the symptoms, but much more mild. And then if Josh and I get it, we're like down. So I don't know for certain they have the flu, but they're so much better now. Solly still has a cough. He's still got a little bit of a junky nose and a terrible sounding cough, but everybody else is back to being perfectly normal now. So I've kind of kept Josh quarantined back here. Josh, will you be able to do work?
I am on short-term disability for 4 weeks.
Because he works on computers, so he needs his hands, even just some mobility right here. He needs it, and he can't do anything but.
If it was my left arm, because I'm right-handed, I probably would be okay. But it's my special arm.
Yeah, I call my left hand my lucky fin because it's so special. Let's see. Baby keeps hitting the phone. Baby. Yeah, it lasted a month. I'm so sorry, Jen. Ugh, that is yucky. What do we give our kids when they're sick? It kind of depends. This time when they had it, just
essential oils. It's the same every time. It's essential oils.
No, it depends on what they have and what they're dealing with.
Yes, what essential oils depends on what they have, but it's always essential oils.
My kids love tea. They're kind of cute little tea junkies. I give them tons of echinacea tea and different herbal teas that are really good for bolstering the immune system. And I include like raw honey and lemon and ginger. So it kind of tastes like a weird herbal lemonade sort of. And they call it ginger lemonade usually when I make it for them. And as soon as I notice somebody getting sick, I like bust out, yes, an elderberry syrup. Tons of elderberry syrup.
If we're lucky, elderberry chews.
Yeah, the gummies. If I have the time, I will make the gummies because that gets it down people easier. I break out the bone broth. I have like one freezer that's almost exclusively bone broth by the gallon bags. So for like 3 days straight, at least one, if not two meals each of those days was some kind of soup made with that. And then I made like, just to entice, because my kids aren't huge on soup, just to like really entice them, I like would make a small batch of biscuits and be like, if you eat your whole bowl of soup, you can have a second biscuit. And they're like, So we do the bone broth, and then I use different essential oils that are really good for boosting the immune system. And this time, because they were like congested and just yuck, we did a whole bunch of the really good decongesting ones. We would either rub on their chest or diffuse at both bedtime and nap time, so they're inhaling it through the cool mist to help those ways too. And we do baths with Epsom salt because magnesium is very good for bolstering the immune system.
Indeed.
Let's see, read. Who wouldn't love weird herbal lemonade? My kids super love it. I don't have a video on making the elderberry gummies, but I have a blog. I will put it up. I would be happy to do a video if that would be easier for people to see. That is absolutely no problem. I just made I made this blog years ago after years of people asking me for my gummies recipe, because I used to just make them for my friends. Like when they'd be sick, I would give them they or their friends would be sick. Children, I can speak, would be sick. We would give them a batch of the elderberry gummies, just a little something. But I'd be happy to do a video if that would be useful. You have a Solomon too? How did I not know that you have a Solomon too? And the biting, oh my goodness. Not all my kids were biters. My first was a biter. That was not pretty. She was a biter till she was 9 months old, and I was going to lose my mind. I don't have a vlog on oils. You know, I have for like more than a month now been saying I was going to make a video on the things we use most often, like specifically the shopping cart spray that I use that like is basically my antibacterial wipe substitute spray before I put the kids on the shopping carts, and like our boo-boo balm, which is just a roller that they put on boo-boos that's, you know, good for skin rejuvenation and has like the tea tree oil that's been clinically proven to be antimicrobial, stuff like that. And then the like whipped shea butter with a couple different essential oils that we have used for years to help with our winter skin. You can't, the FDA controls how you can say things, but in the winter, our skin gets, you know, breakouts of things, and it's soothing. But I've been meaning to make that for a long time, but I should totally make a video on how, like, what essential oils we used while the kids were sick and how, and not necessarily say what it helps, because the FDA says you can't say that because we didn't say so.
I find that herbal tea tastes a lot like just going out into the yard and grabbing grass clippings and then putting hot water on them, because all I taste is grass clippings and hot water. It's not very delicious.
I'm drinking double strength herbal tea because I like it. All right, 3 of my kids will drink herbal tea pretty easily. The oldest will go make it for himself if he's sick. See, my kids will make tea for themselves if I let them. They waste too much, and too much of the priceless raw honey. Oh, that's cute. 7 months. Oh, let's see. Yes, we have the special card. Ash's treasure is here. Hello, it's so good to see you. I'm glad you could make it. One time, a mom, like usually when I'm spraying the cart, people are like, oh, because it smells strong because it has like lemongrass and stuff in it. And people are like trying to stay away from our cloud of it. And I try to be courteous and like make sure I'm blowing in the opposite direction away from anyone else near us. But one time a mom saw me doing it and she was like, that is amazing. I am going to go home and make a shopping cart spray. And I was like, my job here is done.
Charlotte, do you also despise lawn tea?
Lawn tea. Maybe it runs in the family.
Dirt is, I think it's dirt with the grass added, because it's definitely more of a green nastiness.
It's like a grass clod. Red raspberry leaf tea. See, yeah, that and nettle. I will drink stinging nettle and red raspberry leaf, but I make an infusion So I brew it and then let it sit overnight and then strain it and have it over ice the next day, because I only have those when I need it for medicinal purposes, because they're not awesome tasting. And then I put like lemons and honey in it, so it's like Southern sweet tea. Not really. It's not really that sweet, and I'm sorry to any Southerners I just offended.
Thank you, Ash's treasure. But I am married to Megan.
Don't be stealing my man. He's kidding. He's kidding. We have terrible sense of humor around here. That's why we get along so well. Yeah. Let's see, lemongrass oil on my vacuum filter. Ooh, that smells good. We like to put orange on it. Peach tea is good. The kids love peach tea. They love the celestial seasons, like the boxes specifically of the Christmas themed ones. But then they like the fruit ones because they make like a fruit sampler. They love those. We stock up when the Christmas ones are around, like the sugar cookie sleigh ride. We have 2 boxes of those in the pantry right now.
I think the only tea for me that is drinkable is Southern sweet tea, and that's because it's 4/5 sugar.
Did you know that the smoothies that I've been making you all week have been mostly kombucha, which is my home
It's not tea.
It is green tea.
There's green tea in it, but it's not just green tea.
You're right.
I know.
So we are getting with all of these, with all of like the medication he's been on and stuff. We've decided, because they had him on a super heavy antibiotic to prevent like bone infection, because basically if he got an infection in there before things closed up, it's kind of like immediate loss of limb, maybe sepsis. Like they were drilling into the bone marrow. Like it's a big deal. So he's been on really heavy antibiotics. So we've decided.
I was okay with the antibiotics because I feel like if I did get a really bad infection in my arm, that means I'm losing an arm. So I'd rather be on the antibiotics than lose an arm.
No, I see. We're kind of, and me more so than him, but he agrees with my logic in that we try not to take medications and stuff unless it's truly needed, because if we take it when it's truly needed, then it will be appropriately effective in our bodies instead of, getting all these antibiotic resistant things going on out there. But he's been on a week of really strong antibiotics. So we are fixing to do a Candida Cleanse. And I'm doing it with him because I'm a nice wife and I could probably use it too. Because I really like sugar. Have any of you done like a Candida Cleanse sort of thing before? I know it's not a cleanse like most people think, like when they think cleanse, like drink a little bottle of something or like mix cayenne pepper with some honey and water and drink that exclusively for 3 days straight. Like,
no, it's just a terrible way to eat for like 2 weeks. You deprive yourself of all good tasting things.
I'm working really, really hard to make sure that the acceptable foods are good tasting. And you say these things.
It's true. I'm sure I'll eat up those fermented beets.
The fermented beets are for me, okay? So everyone is clear. The slaw that I made today of turnips and beets that are fermenting on the kitchen counter are for me. Which he also walked by and was like, smells like dirt.
Both beets smell like dirt. Do you know what doesn't smell or taste like dirt?
Jelly beans.
Jelly beans. That's exactly what I was going to say.
Because there's a drawer full of them next to you.
That's true.
Another cat. We are ruled by cats here, people. Did you know that?
I have some pills with magnesium in them, and and they do help me sleep. But because of the amount of stuff I was on, I wasn't going to kind of double up on things that could impact my sleep like that.
We talked about doing like a magnesium bath. but his sling when he sits pretty much rests on his lap, so he could be in like that much water. And I don't know how effective that would be as far as absorbing a therapeutic dose of magnesium sulfite into the skin through a bath. So we did not do that this time.
I did paleo, which for me was basically carnivore because I don't eat anything really other than meat anyways.
You all see our grocery hauls. What you don't know is that Josh will take like a smaller portion of vegetables than
half the portion of the children
than anybody else, and he'll eat it just to like be a good example for the kids, like daddy's eating his vegetables, because they'll notice if he's not eating vegetables. But like he eats less vegetables than Solomon, and Solomon's 2.
I'm a grown man. I don't need vegetables anymore. I'm done growing.
Are you though?
I'm done growing vertically.
We still got some more. We did not just make fat jokes about ourselves.
We did.
We did. We are self-deprecating. Okay. Yes, soaking your feet would be a very good idea. Maybe we can do that tonight. Since somebody said it besides me. It's not my idea. It was her idea, and she knows.
2 people's idea.
There you go. 2 people. You should definitely do that. I did not suggest it. I'm just saying.
Do you want me to combine that with the
Charlotte says eat your veggies, Josh.
But they don't taste good.
What he doesn't realize when he's saying these things is that he's like mocking my cooking ability.
I'm not mocking your ability. It's impossible to make vegetables good.
That's not true. I put bacon in almost everything.
Yes, and I eat the bacon.
It's true. It's true. The only way I can get him to eat kale is in smoothies. So don't tell him that when I make his smoothies, there's kale. There you go. Salt and butter. See, we say bacon. Bacon and hot sauce.
When I cook vegetables, I cook them in butter and salt.
Mm-hmm. And I steam them.
And she steams them. So even the kids,
or roast them.
Even the kids are like, "Oh, Daddy made dinner," and they get really excited.
See, when I make peas from the freezer, I like steam them, and I'll give them a little sprinkle of pink Himalayan sea salt. And when Daddy makes them, it's like straight from the freezer bag into the skillet with like half a stick of butter. And they're like, buttered peas! I don't like purposefully deprive my children. It's just that
you're trying to be healthy, and I'm trying to go for flavor.
That's true. So the Candida Cleanse is basically no sugars, no starchy vegetables. It's kind of like paleo intensely. No grains, no added sugars, not even natural sugars. And the whole point is to starve the candida that can get overgrown inside your body when you have to kind of wipe everything out with something like antibiotics. And then at the same time, you're purposefully eating a lot of fermented foods for the good kind of gut bacteria and taking heavy probiotics just for 30 days to kind of rebalance your system and help repopulate the good stuff. So it's only 30 days. So for the month of March, anybody want to torture yourself in March with us?
And kale chips, I couldn't do it. They were still really, really bitter.
I hate kale chips. I have tried so many recipes where my friends are like, oh my goodness, you will love kale after this. And I'm like, still hate them.
I've had homemade ones from people that are like, oh, you should try these. They're really good. And it tasted like bitterness.
And like I eat kale so many other ways, but kale chips I super hate.
If
we
you want
grow kale, a lot of kale. It's mostly so I can eat it and then I can put it in everybody else's smoothies.
If you want a really good chip, you go with a potato chip. It's super healthy. It's a vegetable.
It is. I do make homemade potato chips sometimes. The caprylic acid isn't that like a constituent in coconut oil? Thought it was. one aspect that like one kind of bonus thing you can do on the Candida Cleanse is daily oil pulling to like, because thrush and stuff can pop up when you're like dealing with Candida die-off. So that's something he will never step a toe toward. But I used to oil pull daily. So just to make myself do it like every day for a month is a no big to me. I usually put like one drop of essential oil in a whole tablespoon of oil when I do it, just to kind of get the added benefits.
Espillardii.
That looks like what it is. I won't try to say it myself. Yes, Candida, the gut can be really messed up. Like I've seen so many studies. Unfortunately, they're not like big enough to really like make people hugely take notice, but the people who actually kind of tend to make those connections for themselves, see a lot of affirmation in the studies that show like the gut is super messed up on kids with autism, and getting the gut sorted can help so much with brain function.
So according to the NIH, Espillardii mediates responses resembling the protective effects of the normal, healthy gut flora. It is a type of probiotic.
Very nice. Well, I could tell by the name it was a type of probiotic.
I'll have to check that out, because between this and the caprylic acid tablets or something, I could avoid the whole diet thing and just supplement with supplements.
Let's see. The kale, I like rinse it and put it fresh in the freezer, and then it like crumbles up. I don't even have to do any extra work. But I was looking into, because my husband got me an Excalibur dehydrator, 9 trays. So like not the biggest, because I know there's a 12 tray, but a big one.
I have to buy her things so she'll stay with me.
I have told him for a long time that he just needs to be really nice to me, because if he ever left me, I would break him with child support for all these children.
It's legit.
So that's really why we're together. Maybe it's love. Maybe it's avoiding child support. It's true.
Everything you do.
Do it all for you. Just kidding. No copyright claims.
Well, since we said the words wrong, there's no copyright to be worried about.
There you go. It was just a badly sung tune. Corn chips are tasty.
Corn chips, Doritos are a great product. Very delicious. The new Flamin' Hot ones are fantastic. And I think that's a great idea, that I could wash down those supplements with jelly beans.
You could. You could.
It's my bag of jelly beans.
There are 4 different kinds of jelly beans in here.
I would like to point out that they were put within arm's reach of me because I couldn't move, and I couldn't have put them there myself.
I'm an enabler.
In my mind, corn is like a potato, and it's a tier 1 vegetable.
It's like
it's one of the better vegetables you can have.
It's not a vegetable. It's funny that dip the pills in bacon grease and they will go down easy peasy. That's true. I will dehydrate kale and fill capsules with my placenta encapsulating machine, but it'll be kale, not placenta. And then I'll dip them in bacon grease.
Well, if you have them in capsules, then I can do capsules fine. I don't need to grease up the capsules.
Get the joy of kale.
I'd probably throw it up. My body would reject it.
I think your body wants to be healthy, and your tongue is what you're fighting. It's like, I don't like the taste of that.
It's because I have a brain problem that doesn't allow me to eat certain textures or flavors. It's not my fault. It's my brain.
That's legitimately how your son's brain works. So don't even go there. Bacon is good. Let's see. Yes, YouTube is disabled comments on family channels. They have done a lot so far. They have not gotten us. I don't know what, like, why they're picking and choosing the channels that they do, what the attributes are. The blanket thing is videos containing minors, no matter if the parents are putting it on there, therefore giving their consent. If a video contains a child under the age of 18 because of the problem they're having with a particular kind of predator at this very moment, they're disabling comments because of predatory commenting like that. And they're just trying to find a better solution in the meantime. I don't blame them. I think it stinks, but I appreciate that they're trying to do something, and I hope
it's
that
a
they
textbook,
can. Oh yeah, he does this stuff for a living, by the way.
Yeah,
guys.
It's a textbook,
not for YouTube.
Overcorrection.
Yes.
Because they don't know what to do, so they're just going to stop everything to avoid further impact from said bad thing. Until they can figure out ways to do it in a more algorithmic way.
Yeah. So for whatever reason, we haven't sparked YouTube's interest. Just watch, like, maybe when we're done with this video, my videos are no longer going to have comments. I don't know. But I know, like, Justin Rhodes, who is like just homesteading with his kids, like that's 100% what he does. They have shut his down. The Holler Homestead and a couple of other like bigger ones that I'm really connected to have also had comments shut down. So I don't know if there's something in particular, whether in tags or algorithms or hits or something like that, that is triggering them to pick up those channels that are in the very similar genre of like the homeschooling kind of homesteading family channels. I know I saw This Gathered Nest, which is a family of 9 that is exclusively parents and their 7 little kids 100% of the time. Enormous channel, still has their comments. So I'm not sure what it is that's making them pick and choose the channels that they shut down. But I mean, we'll see. I can appreciate what they're trying to do and be rather annoyed at how they're currently doing it, and hopeful that they quickly figure out something else. All right, I've got to catch up. Your dehydrator got left at your old house. I'm so sorry. I'm sorry. That's crummy. I use mine. I didn't use it as much this last year because I found I got like hyper focused on canning and freezing. But typically I use my dehydrator more than anything. Little bunnies.
Spirulina tablets.
See,
I can take things in supplement in like tablet form.
But once it's compressed into a tablet, it has like additives and fillers just to make it like stable in that shape. I can just fill my capsules, my capsule machine with all the healthy foods. You should make your own kind of green mix like I have. I will. All the kind of foods that you should be eating, I will make you. You'll have to take like 37 of them every day.
And if they are allowing you to go back into your videos and re-enable comments, my guess is that's for legal purposes, that they can write it off as a that they're removing liability from Google because you're choosing or opting into comments. Yeah. So I think that's probably what they're doing.
I know Justin Rhodes said earlier, and he's the only like big channel I've seen speak on it. Like I have, I don't know, over 300 channels that I sub to, and some of them are huge. He's the only one I've seen speak to on it, but I know he said he wasn't at this time because he wanted to really figure out the nuances of, if I turn it back on, what are the implications going on here? Because he doesn't want to mess with his channel for better or worse. He's kind of hoping it rides out and they figure things out, but he's kind of waiting right now to see what's going on. Yes, they're definitely having a knee-jerk reaction, Jen. You're absolutely right. Yeah, Chaos and Grace. I only know that it's going on because yesterday a whole bunch of people on a homesteader group I'm in was like, hey, all my comments just disappeared. Like, somebody wants to know why I shut comments off, and I looked and all my comments are gone. and a bunch of other channels, like people were responding saying, mine too. Like, is YouTube glitching? What's going on? And then they released the information of what they were doing. That's fun. Okay, I gotta focus on catching up. There are channels that have said, yes, you can turn it on. Sorry, honey. Yeah, there definitely has to be a better way, and I'm sure they'll figure it out. They just haven't yet. A new wave is supposed to dehydrate. Ooh, like the new wave oven, like the ones they have the infomercials on.
Yeah, it's a convection oven plus something else, like infrared and stuff. I've pointed it out a couple times. I fall into those all the time. Like I'm total sucker for the seen on TV stuff. That and what is the quick pot thingy? Instapot. Like I always tell her, hey, Kay, we should get one of those things. I want an air fryer. That sounds awesome. If we can make crisp fries with less oil, that would be amazing. And I'll ask her, and she's like, yeah, we don't have room for all of these things that you want. So we have an oven. We're going to use an oven.
And a dehydrator and a bread machine and 2 crock pots. My friend Wendy has 9 children, and she is amazing, and she does the whole from scratch cooking thing like we do, and they have an awesome little homestead that they're building up in New York. She loves her air fryer and her Instant Pot. She has 2 Instant Pots, and she uses them all the time. And I believe her. It's not that I disbelieve her. It's just, have you seen my kitchen? I don't even have a pantry. I don't know why someone would build a 5-bedroom, 3-bathroom house and not have a pantry in it. Like, where do you put the food that all these people are supposed to, like, you make a house big enough for a lot of people to live in. Where do they put their food? Do they not make their own food? We make our own food and we make a lot of it.
I still think Instapot.
A lot of people do.
And I'm the one that broke out the wok finally. And I loved cooking with that. And then my arm was taken from me again.
You still have your arm. It's there.
It's there. But it's tied up. Oh, hey. It's my arm.
He still has his arm.
It's still there. Yes, it's technically still there.
Don't listen to him.
It's non-functional, but it's there.
You need a man shed for your kitchen appliance collection. Yes. Yes. We need to make a lean-to, like a he shed. We'll make him a he shed with his computers and his kitchen appliances.
Turn around.
Nope.
Just turn around.
Nope.
All this right here could go away.
Don't look at it.
And this room
can
be my man shed.
That's my sewing space.
You don't sew in here. You sew in the kitchen.
That's all you guys are going to see of it. So many bins of fabrics separated by type and fiber. Also yarn separated by type and fiber. Like, I should buy stock in Sterlite and Rubbermaid totes. And then I have a table behind us with tons, like 3 different sewing machines and books and thread and patterns. I used to do this for a business. I have a lot of it. I stopped in like 2013 doing it as a full-time business, but I still have all the stuff. So Josh doesn't get a he shed because I sew and knit, okay?
Yes, but you don't do it in here.
But I have to keep the stuff somewhere.
In the shed. It's a thought.
A bad thought.
For me, I wanted, I think 2 kids, like a boy and a girl. But that was, that went out of the window pretty quickly. And once we had 3, it was just like, what's up? Well, whatever.
No, for realsies. He wanted 2. I wanted 4. We compromised on 3. So we had Annalise. We had Gabriel. I was pregnant with Rafaela, and we said, all right, this is good. Like the whole 2 against 1 dynamic that often happens with families with 3 kids. Like, it's probably not going to happen because, Gabe then was very low functioning in his special needs, which we now know are autism and sensory processing disorder. And he was having panic attacks constantly and not sleeping at night. So we're like, this is never going to happen. Gabe is always going to have the attention he needs, and the girls will have each other as best friends. And so we decided to be done permanently. So we were like weeks away from that permanentness for Josh. And I found out very unexpectedly, like even my midwife, who's aware of our methods of birth control, was shocked that we were expecting Aaron. And then when Aaron was born, it was like this whole shift happened. And we both just looked at him so frequently and we're like, how could we have ever thought we could do without him? Like we were that serious about being completely done that it was like shocking to look at him and be like, we said we didn't want him. Mm-hmm. And ever since then, I mean, it's kind of, I joke with friends because they say, oh no, we're done after this one. I did that over and over and over again. And then I just got to a point now where, 6 kids, I'm like, people say, so are you guys done? I'm like, I don't even know. Mm-hmm. I don't know.
We have thoughts on adoption when our kids are of a certain age. The problem is we keep having kids. So our kids are never reaching that certain age because there's always one following.
We really want, because we have a huge heart's desire to adopt from the foster care system, and specifically the kids that are considered unadoptable and hard to place because they're like sibling groups or teenagers. But we're also not naive to the struggles that those kids have and the very real, very heavy baggage that many of them bring with them. And we're okay with that baggage. But one thing that we want that is like non-negotiable for us is having all of our kids having excellent speech skills, basically. And Solomon is very speech delayed. He's about to turn 3 and he's just talking now. And we know he doesn't have the same struggles that Gabe had when he was nonverbal. He just he doesn't care to talk. And he makes himself known and perfectly clearly. He will just grab your hand. He doesn't even get frustrated. He just here, come here. And he grabs your hand and shows you what he's talking about. But we don't feel confident that those are that's adequate for everyone's safety. So we just, we haven't gotten into the home study process and stuff like that yet. And we just, at this point, we're like, eventually our kids are going to be old enough and we're going to know we're biologically done. And maybe that's the point where we start pursuing home study. That's fun. By friends, not you. That one.
And once again, we're being solicited by a certain person to do a podcast.
People have mentioned that a lot. I feel like I don't know. I don't know if it's one of those things for a very long time, I blogged since I started in 2003. Before blogging was even popular, I blogged. And then once Aaron was born with all of his health struggles in 2013, and then we moved here to Virginia. I mean, I stopped my online business that had been my full-time job because I just couldn't keep up. I stopped blogging because there was just no time. But I always felt this really deep sadness. I wanted to share, but I just didn't have time. So people kept saying you should start a YouTube channel, you should blog because it's so much easier and less time consuming. So I finally, in January 2017, I gave it a try. And I still was I can't believe anybody would want to hang out and watch us. Why would anyone care? It's going to be my family. My family doesn't even watch our YouTube channel.
I don't even think they sub.
I mean, they may on occasion, when I post it to my Facebook page, and I'm not saying this to bash them. I'm just saying I don't think they do. It's just not something that they do. If they want to know what's going on, they'll call us, which they do once every few weeks.
Yeah.
But it's just blown me away how many people, I mean, we're just about 4,000, which for a lot of channels be 4,000 after 2 years, that's pathetic. For us, it's we're just here sharing our hearts and sharing like our lives and what we do. And if that, you know, blesses somebody, then awesome. Like the fact that 4,000 people want to hang out for that, that's amazing. So every time like people bring up a podcast a lot, and I still am in like, I don't, why would people care to listen to our podcast? But then again, 4,000 people want to hang out and watch our YouTube channel. Caleb's up. Oh, yeah. The evaluation process is a
little nerve-wracking.
It's kind of bittersweet. Back when Gabe was 2 and we first like started working on the evaluation process, because we really were like, okay, this is way outside any developmental normal range. Like, let's go to early intervention and get him evaluated. On the one hand, you don't want anything to be wrong with your kid, but you also, if something is wrong, you want to know exactly what's going on so you can get them the help that they need to thrive. So I felt awful saying it, but I was like, on evaluation day, I really hope Gabe is having a horrible day. As it turned out, he was having an amazing day. And the kid who in the grocery store, if people made eye contact, he would just like start literally screaming like a siren. Had 5 people come into our living room and like stare at him and have him like prompt him to do different activities. And he was a charmer. And I was like, who is this child? And they still were able to see such profound deficits that he had like services for years because of that. Mm-hmm. And then when he was 8, was it? Yeah, he was 8 when we realized, you know, maybe there's something more, because it just kind of got to the point where it wasn't just immaturity, or it just got to the point where it was really obviously something more. And he was struggling deeply. And I did a video about it not too long ago that I can link if you guys would like me to link it in the comments. So you can save it for later or whatever. But we took him to an autism specialist. She was a neuropsychologist who evaluates for plenty of things, but she specialized in autism because we had a feeling. And as much as you don't want your kid to get any kind of, you know, really serious diagnosis like that, if it was valid, we definitely did, because it's so bittersweet. Like we now know, like we have the formal diagnoses, and we can choose to tell no one and let him just live and get the services that he needs. Or, I mean, for us, it basically in this way, we've been able to say, hey, this is what autism looks like. It's not, because when we were looking for resources, there is a lot for families with profoundly affected individuals. There's not as much for high functioning individuals. And that left us with so many really practical questions that a lot of time even professionals can't address, because they're not living this life every day, and they're especially not homeschooling. So we figured if sharing his diagnosis and experiences and how we have dealt with those things without putting him on the spot and putting him out on the internet with his face saying, hey, I have autism and this is how I struggle and this is my face. Like, if he wants to do that when he's of a certain age, that's fine. But in general, I'm not going to have him sit down right here and tell you about all the things that are hard for him, because that's not healthy. I can, as his parent, we can sit here and talk to you guys about that, no problem. But we don't want to sit here and like in front of him point out everything he struggles with and everything that's wrong with him and how we deal with it. Like, this is life. He doesn't need to be picked apart. Mm-hmm. But if us sharing our hearts can help other people who are also dealing with homeschooling, kids with struggles like SPD and the attention issues that he deals with, that's part of autism and stuff like that, then we'll do it, because it's something we are happy to do if we can help someone else. Excuse me. Okay. Yes, the podcast. Yeah, Solomon understands us perfectly. His receptive language, where he could understand anything and everything, has been ahead. I mean, he's almost 3 now, so for years now. He has been obviously very, very smart. He just doesn't care to talk.
He started talking quite a bit over the last probably month. And every day funny. He's more and more verbal. So I think he's going to kind of break out of it now.
He's definitely having like a big developmental spurt right now. And his third birthday is in April. So we're coming up on almost his birthday month. And he's at least once a day, especially with him being home lately. We just look at each other and chuckle over something he says. We're like, did that really just come out of that kid's mouth? Like that's, it's just hilarious to us to see him developing in that way. But he still is very much delayed behind what an almost 3-year-old should be. He's kind of where, aside from Gabe, who had his own struggles, he is kind of where our other kids were at like 1.5 to 2. So let's see.
Regarding subscriber counts, it's one of those things that it's going to be slow when you start a channel, and unless you have a particular niche or a gimmick, you're not going to grow rapidly. It's going to be a very slow growth. And then as you get more and more subscribers, you get subscribers faster because more people are seeing you. You're popping up in the algorithm more often.
YouTube definitely kind of boosts and honors the channels that are getting lots of activity. So when you're smaller, even if what you're saying is super valid to what and applicable to what a lot of people are searching for, and the popular things, a smaller channel is gonna be like invisible, because if there are bigger channels, YouTube likes those because their analytics are better for YouTube business. So even if, what we have to say is really applicable to what a lot of people are searching, we're not going to be seen much. But as we get more subscribers, the algorithm's going to pick up, if someone's searching, high functioning autism and homeschooling, that sort of thing, or suburban homesteading, or, large family grocery hauls, stuff like that. We're going to be more and more visible as our channel gets bigger. So growth, like having a big channel, not a big deal to me. I am ecstatic that we're an hour in and there are 10 people watching this right now. I'm like, oh my goodness, there's 10 people. That is so cool. There's 10 people sitting here chatting with us. And yet, to a lot of channels that I follow, even smaller channels that aren't much bigger than mine, they'd be like, 10 people, what a fail. I'm like, I don't really care. Y'all are just chilling with us. That is really cool. I'm glad we can hang with you guys. Welcome, Stubby. We are here.
Yeah, I would say overall, it's just about kind of sticking with it and grinding through and just being committed to what you're trying to do. Because the people who want to find you will, and it's just about sticking to your guns and putting out the content that you believe in.
Yeah,
and other people will find it.
We're not sharing to be popular. We're sharing our hearts, and the right people will find that.
If I wanted to have a channel that was huge, I would play Fortnite or something like that. You can start a Fortnite channel and have 1 million subs in a day and a half. So, I mean, it really comes down to producing a product that you believe in. And then when you can, it does help having technology and equipment that provides, higher quality picture, or higher quality video and stuff like video, audio.
And we got our new camera. We got our new camera set up. I'm so excited. We haven't, except for the one video where I was sitting on the front porch talking about Josh's surgery really briefly last week. All that stuff was recorded way before his surgery and before we got the new camera. So I'm excited to start working with the new camera. I don't even remember to bring him a glass of water half the time when he asks for the one, because I'm like, okay, just a second. And then I finish something and I just keep going and don't get him his water. So thinking about trying to work on a filming schedule right now is not happening. All right. I know I see a lot of things and I feel bad that I'm missing it. So, Wyatt's evaluation took over 2 months. He's a giant question mark. Caleb was pretty much okay. Yeah, our neuropsychologist with Gabe and his evaluation was like, there's a lot that's not like, he's a big puzzle piece because he has a lot of ADHD issues, but they seem to be coping mechanisms for autism. He has massive anxiety, but it seems to be coping mechanisms for the sensory input triggers and how he's dealing with it. So it doesn't seem like generalized anxiety or anything is an issue. He does deal with depression, but that seems to be his self-awareness that he's developing with his struggles.
Right.
So that's autism. That's not a depression disorder. That's just him struggling to deal. And we all struggle to deal with things at times.
You hear about these tragedies
and OCD
of kids, very young kids, 8, 9 years old, committing suicide because they're depressed. And I'm like, I don't understand. Like, to me, childhood is about just being jovial and having just this freedom to do whatever you want and just have fun and be a kid. So the idea of being that depressed and then seeing it on my own child and not being able to help him because he's very hard on himself.
Yeah.
So it was kind of, that was the point for us where we were like, all right, we need to get him evaluated and
get him more help, whatever it is that he needs. I mean, like we said earlier, like, medication is something that we really use as a last resort, but if it's applicable, we're happy to go there. It hasn't been yet, so we're grateful. But I mean, we joke all the time, like, Gabe has a lot of OCD tics, but we see them as coping mechanisms. I mean, back when he was learning the days of the week and first developing speech skills, if we said any day of the week, just in conversation, if we were in the front of the van and said, well, I think we're going to do this on Monday, you would instantly hear him in the back of the van go, Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday, Friday, Saturday, Sunday, Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday, Friday, Saturday, Sunday, Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday, Friday, Saturday, Sunday. He had to finish out the pattern of all the days of the week and say it 3 times over. But that comes and goes, and you can tell it's linked to his anxiety. And it's kind of reminding himself of things he can control and things are in a good order, so he feels safe. So he doesn't seem to have a separate OCD diagnosis. It seems to be coping mechanisms. So she said, Gabe is a very complicated piece, but it all seems to center on autism and really severe SPD and these coping mechanisms he's developed to deal with that.
And also, I think as he's maturing, he is able to cope with these things a little better. So I think that's part of the process as well. It's just
he's becoming aware, and that's where he gets really, he struggles in different ways because he's aware of his deficits. But he is, having less of the OCD tics because he's maturing out of it. All right. I don't want to skip people or ignore them. Okay. I'm sorry. Yeah. I'm scrolling all over the place, guys. Okay. Yes, I have usually found smaller channels I like through leaving meaningful comments on larger channels. I hope the comments come back soon. Fortnite, right? I was a YouTube viewer on the channels I like long before I even thought of making it. And so I've kind of been in the community, like in the live streams and stuff. But even still, I mean, the people that I've been like commenting on and that they like know me by my channel name, they don't realize it's a channel name even still, like 3 or 4 years later. They're like, what? You make content? I'm like, I do. Yep. Same exact genre as you. Check me out sometime.
Yeah,
but I'm still small fish.
Stubby, I don't think it's a national crisis level of thing. But when you have a child that's dealing in depression, you kind of start researching things, and that's when I started finding them. And it opened my eyes to it.
Mm-hmm.
And but it's not like a national crisis level of thing that's occurring. It's just, it happens.
And I mean, last week, something made the news about an 8-year-old girl who her parents took her cell phone away, and she couldn't imagine making it through the weekend without her cell phone, and she committed suicide. Like, how does an 8-year-old know how to do that? Number one, probably the cell phone.
Yeah, you look it up.
And like, there's so many, the culture today is, and as much as I think there is so much more to it than video games, there's also this aspect of kids not taking life very seriously because you murder left and right on video games and everybody respawns. And an 8-year-old doesn't have the practical mind to be able to say, I'm not going to respawn. Like, this is for keeps.
That's one where we're going to differ, because I've been playing video games since I was 5 years old, and it's never impacted me in that way.
But you're not a kid with autism, and you're not a kid that's struggling in other ways. Just saying.
No, I had my own struggles.
It's true. But that's my opinion. That's his opinion. Different is his opinion.
I just can't
that's cool.
blame video games for it.
That's just because he super loves video games still. That's all right. I knit in my pastime. I just chill and knit. He plays video games. Okay. Our children have no natural joy. It's been absolutely heart-wrenching. That's one thing we've noticed about Gabe, and I think it's brain chemistry. It's how his brain works. Is he has so much like tension. He's like, everything, his default is defensiveness and anger because of how he's had to cope with the assault, basically, of sensory input in a very hostile world. His default is to put up a wall and to get angry and chase people away. His default is not, like all my other kids, to give somebody the benefit of the doubt.
Yeah.
I mean, and he does it to inanimate objects too, and that's very much an autism thing.
Yeah.
But it really it stood out one day when he was coming down the stairs too fast. Like, I lecture them about all the time, but he was wearing socks and he came down the stairs fast, and about 4 stairs from the bottom, his feet slipped out from under him and he slid the rest of the way on his bum. He was totally fine, but his instant reaction was rage, and he turned around and like beat the snot out of the stairs, kicking and punching and screaming at them and calling them names for hurting him. And that's kind of his approach to the world. Like, everything is done to him. He struggles to own his part, his role in things. And so everything is defensive and instantly angry if it's not completely in a way that makes sense to him, and that he's so used to having to claim and defend and like have those ticks to make sure, okay, there's order here the rest of the days of the week, or there's order here, like Saturday morning bagels. People have asked so many times in our grocery hauls, like, you guys eat so healthy and you make your own bread products. Why are you buying crappy Costco bagels? And I'm like, you don't mess with Saturday morning bagels. We buy bagels, 4 sleeves at Costco, because 2 sleeves are a meal. And we go shopping bi-weekly on Friday. And the next morning we have 2 sleeves fresh and the other 2 go in the freezer, and we have them the next Saturday. And one week I tried not going to Costco, one grocery trip, because there was very little I needed there.
I think you did waffles instead.
I did like something else that was a great breakfast, but the kid was going nuts. He's like, Saturday morning bagels. We don't have Saturday morning bagels. What are we going to eat if we don't have Saturday morning bagels? And he just like, Saturday morning bagels nonstop. He was anxious and a mess because no Saturday morning bagels.
Yeah.
So yes, we will buy really crappy bagels every Saturday morning.
They're decent bagels. They're Einstein Brothers. They're decent bagels. I mean, they're not like a high quality New York bagel, fresh, but they're decent.
But compared to much the rest of our diet, really, you're buying 2 dozen bagels?
And the service dog Cooper, he ended up not doing well for Gabe, because Gabe couldn't handle controlling him.
It was a season for Gabe for sure. There was a season where Cooper was like so helpful.
Yeah.
And it was as Gabe was maturing more, kind of beyond that, every single person I see could be an abductor or a murderer, and they could steal me and they could kill us all. And it was very much a developmental stage for him. And Cooper was so helpful. And it just kind of got to a point where Gabe didn't need him in that way. So then, just because of the way Gabe processes things, Cooper became an annoyance. He's like, can somebody else hold his leash? I'm like, Gabe, he's your service dog. He's here helping you out, bud. Like, you need to hold on to him. And he'd get really annoyed. So sometimes I would take him and walk with him, and I don't care. Like, I've got anxiety. Give me the anxiety dog. I'll hug him. But it got to a point where he would get very frustrated, and Cooper would not like turn on a dime down an aisle. So then Gabe would like knee him in the ribs, and then Cooper would like get upset. Not, he never nipped or anything, but he'd be like, well, okay, I'm sorry, what's going on? And I mean, Cooper was amazing for the season that Gabe needed him, but I don't think he's gone anywhere with us for like probably 6 months. I mean, he occasionally goes to the park with us and stuff like that, but not in a service dog capacity because he's not needed. So I guess he's kind of a retired service dog now. He was so helpful for a while. And like, I can't imagine us being able to do Disney World without Cooper when we went, because he was in this huge park with tons of people and so much noise and stimuli. He was like Gabe's little piece of safety. Like, we're good, dude. We can just sit down on the pavement here and not move, and nobody's going to get near us. Everybody's going to go around us. We're good. And Gabe could check out. But yeah, we haven't really needed him. But now when Gabe is having a rough day at home, like Cooper immediately is like on him and snuggling him and doing his job, just hanging out at home. So where'd he go? He's over there laying on his back in the middle of the floor sleeping. All right. Yes, kids are absolutely bombarded at a young age.
And I think putting a cell phone with open access to friends and the internet in the hands of a young child, I think is very dangerous.
Yeah, I mean, there are definitely, we realized like a year ago, our kids didn't know how to use a cell phone. We took for granted the way we were raised, knowing how to use a phone, like a rotary phone, even that's no big deal. Like, I still remember my phone number from, the place I moved from when I was 5, and that was always on a rotary phone. But we realized our kids didn't know how to use a phone because they don't have a cell phone. They don't play with our phones.
Our oldest is 12 and she didn't know how to use a cell phone.
So we sat down and had lessons, and I taught them okay, now we're going to call daddy at work so you can learn how to listen and then dial for an extension. And we had to do that kind of stuff when they're middle school grades, because we just took for granted and we don't give them a cell phone because it's just not part of their lives. I mean, Josh and I each have a cell phone, and we do use some we're on Facebook and Instagram. He's hardly on those things, but I am. We're on YouTube.
I'm on them. I just do it to like things.
Yeah,
I don't
to follow friends and family members. He doesn't, put really anything of himself. But did you train Cooper yourself? We got our dog for therapy and service work, but it's been a fail so far since he is such a wild herding puppy. So one thing that we read, which may have been a struggle for Gabe, yes, we trained Cooper, but we noticed that he was very intuitive to Gabe naturally. Like, long before we ever considered making Cooper a service dog. The reason we thought of it is because of how Gabe naturally acted toward him. Once we started talking about a service dog for Gabe, we were contemplating getting a breed that was more suited to being that type of service dog, because one thing that is often said, and we found to be true, but it wasn't necessarily a problem. We just noticed it in Cooper's natural behavior, is that Gabe needed a calming dog for anxiety, and Cooper totally was that. But Cooper was also, he's a herding dog. He's an Australian Shepherd. And he watches all the things, he herds all the things, and he kind of is about as neurotic as Gabe, but he can handle it, basically. And we thought about getting a dedicated service dog. Yeah, like a lab or something like that is has the temperament that's much more suited to that. And then and actually going through a local program that trains dogs and stuff like that. And we're like, well, you know what?
before we do that, it seems like Cooper might have
a try.
That natural
Put him through the
ability.
training. Yeah. Yeah. So we did do the training. I did a ton of research. I found recommendations for great books on training service dogs by people with much more profound needs than Gabe had. So I figured if Cooper could tick these boxes for people that have much greater needs, they could totally fill the bill for Gabe. And he did. He did a great job. And I still have the workbooks, but
we moved to Virginia for work.
Yes.
I had just completed my bachelor's, and the upstate New York, central New York area was very, it was not a good environment for where we wanted to raise the kids. So we started, I started looking outside of New York for opportunities. And I got an opportunity for a 3-month contract working for GE in their cybersecurity center in Richmond. And I moved down here by myself for 4 months until I was offered a full-time position, at which time
you moved us down.
Yeah, everybody else came down.
Aaron was 3. He moved in June, and Aaron was born in April. So yeah, Aaron was 3 months old and having a lot of health issues when he moved. So that was a really difficult, from the time he left until we moved was 5 months. And that 5-month period was so hard.
And I was only getting back for maybe 2 or 3 days a month.
Yeah. He would like leave his overnight job when he got out at, was it 6 a.m. or 8 a.m.?
It was at 8 a.m.
Yeah. And he would book it up 95 that goes up the eastern coast. And he would come home and we would like have dinner, and then he'd go to bed, and he would be able to spend the next day with us, but then he would like have to, so we would get 1 full day with him, and he would have to drive about 1,500 miles round trip to do it.
Yeah.
But it was interesting. I had
a sunroof, and I got a lot of my face was always super tan.
I have so much more respect for, I mean, I couldn't have fathomed the struggles that I would endure just in every day, not having him coming home from work, going to work, no matter the shift he was working. And I just have so much more appreciation for the struggles of military wives and single moms. And I mean,
yeah, she had to do it for a few
5 months.
Yeah.
And he was still making a paycheck that was direct deposited into the bank account. So I didn't even have to like work to pay my own bills. I mean, I still worked my job at home, but that even was less because I had less time. So I have so much more respect for the women who do it by themselves. All right, let me make sure I didn't miss any more comments. Awesome. Okay, I think we're going to call it good. We've been chatting with you all for about an hour and a half.
Yeah, that's pretty cool.
Thank you so much. I will give you a spoiler since you all hung around. We have a really funny video coming out on Monday.
We do?
Yes. It involves eating really weird things, and I tricked the kids into eating it, and they were pleasantly surprised.
Looks like we got one more question.
Oh, sorry.
We chose this area because it was more rural.
Yeah.
That's really it.
When we first moved down here, we moved into a very generic suburb that was close enough to Josh's job, but not in, because he worked in a really like expensive area, and we didn't want to have to pay that, and we just didn't really like kind of the environment. So we moved to a suburb further south, and we decided to live there for 18 months.
Nice. It was very convenient.
Yeah, it was nice, but it confirmed to me that suburban living, like true suburban living, where you sit on your couch and you look over and you see your neighbor sitting on his couch also watching TV, that creeps me out. And I don't also like living with my blinds constantly drawn because I'm not a creature of darkness. So we decided to look in all the different kind of what is technically considered suburbs, but further out in, so it's just beyond the metro limits. And we looked on every side of the city. I mean, we looked between Richmond and Chesapeake, and between Richmond and Petersburg, and Richmond and Charlottesville, and Richmond and Fredericksburg. And eventually we just settled here because we found the right house with decent land. And it was, you know, a good area. I mean, we're kind of weird in that we don't really give a hoot about the school districts, so I can't even tell you how good the school districts are around here.
Yeah, that was one of the things that people were like, "Oh, you're going to Powhatan? Their school district's not very good." And I was looking, I'm like, "Well, it doesn't look like it's bad, but I don't care.
I mean, just give me the email address for the homeschool coordinator, and we're good. Like, that's all I need." Yeah. So. All right, my friends, thank you so much for hanging out with us. We had a great time. I know we said in Monday's video that we probably would disappear. And then I was able, before his surgery, to get up all the stuff that I had pre-filmed. So we did put up some, I don't know. I mean, beyond the other pre-filmed one that we have going up on Monday. I don't know when I'm going to be filming again. That's why I think Josh mentioned it. He's like, hey, why don't we do a live and just like answer all the questions, check in with people, let them know like real time how he's doing. So thank you all so much for hanging out. And we do have a Q&A that we want to film. So many of you have given us questions. I have them screenshotted or saved in some fashion, so that we can sit down in front of the camera one day and answer all those questions between Instagram and Facebook and YouTube. So if you have any more questions, put them on a Instagram or Facebook or other YouTube video, or in the comments on this video. Put them in the comments.
Whatevs.
Yeah, we would be happy to answer. And we said we will answer any question that is appropriate. Okay. I think that's good.
Sure.
Thank you all so much. And thank you for your support and love and encouragement while Josh got his surgery and in the recovery process.
Absolutely.
It has been so much more meaningful than we can express. It has been awesome. All right. Have a great night, friends. We'll see you all soon. Yes, I'm sure. The camera's in the way.